All right, guys, so we have a little bit of an update on this LeBron James situation regarding him kicking out two Pacers fans the other night after returning back from suspension. Now, one of the reasons why I'm doing this update, right, is because when I did my initial video on this, some people were upset that I was mocking LeBron James and making fun of him because I think that it was weak for him to get two fans kicked out of the game, especially like in overtime, right? When, you know, the game is almost over, right? And he decides he wants to get two fans kicked out of the game because they allegedly said something out of bounds or mean to him, right? So a lot of people have problems with that because there's this rumor floating around on the internet, this unproven rumor that these fans wish death on his son, Bronny James, okay? And obviously, if they said that, those comments are unacceptable, and I understand why LeBron James would be upset about that, right? Now, again, you know, hey, me personally, would I had let that get to me if I was LeBron James? Probably not, right? But hey, I do understand why he would be mad about that, right? I understand anytime a father gets mad about, you know, somebody saying something about his kids or doing something to their kids, I don't blame him, right? But for me personally, I think I would have just brushed it off and kept it moving, right? But hey, athletes are not built like that nowadays, okay? So LeBron James was mad and had him kicked out. And again, people, you know, are upset because people were calling him Lil Snitch and Lil Karen and all this other stuff and saying, well, you don't know the whole story. These fans said X, Y, and Z. When to this date, I still have not seen any evidence, no evidence whatsoever to support the claims that that's what they said, right? We don't have any fans who I've seen on video go on a record. I'm not talking about YouTube comments and random Twitter things. I haven't seen any videos, any fans go on a record and say, hey, I was sitting right there. I heard it, right? This is what they said. We don't have any video recording of it. We have no evidence whatsoever to support that claim. LeBron hasn't said that's what they said. The NBA has responded to this, and guess what? They haven't confirmed that that's what they said. So, again, that's part of the reason why I'm doing this video is because I want to follow this story because I really do think that that is made up. But again, I could be wrong. They could have said that. However, the NBA seems to be punishing LeBron James for obscene language and gestures more than they're punishing the fans for the exact same thing, as they are fining LeBron James $15,000. Which is basically pocket change for LeBron James at this point, right? So the same gesture that I think they're fining him for is for LeBron James grabbing his junk, right? When he was playing in overtime, right? I think he like hit a 3-pointer or something like that, made a shot or whatever, and grabbed his junk, right? Same guy complaining about obscene gestures and language, right? Gets fined by the NBA for obscene gestures and language. You can't make this stuff up. Right? Which, again, is why I really don't have that much sympathy when LeBron James complains about, oh, fans said something mean to him. Right? I don't, because LeBron has a history of saying this stuff. He has a history of doing this stuff. Right? It is what it is. And matter of fact, I don't even think he should be fined for it. I don't. I like when sports is like that. I like when players, you know, make obscene gestures. Right? I love that stuff. Okay? And if they do it towards the fans, that's fine. If the fans do it towards them, that's fine too. I think that's what makes a sports atmosphere great, right? That's why I think it makes it fun. So I don't even agree with them fining him for this, right? But hey, since he got these two fans kicked out, hey, you know what? I think it's okay. I think it's okay, okay? Even though I don't think it makes up for it, but it is what it is. Now, in regards to more information about what was said, we have a tiny bit more information from a somewhat more reputable source than random YouTube comments and Twitter comments, right? As Pacers writer Scott Agnes reported Saturday on what exactly the two Pacers fans who got ejected from Wednesday game did to draw the ear of LeBron James. They made obscene gestures to him. Quote, "It's right effing here," James reportedly told referee Rodney Mott as he pointed out the offending fans. "Obscene gestures right in my face." Agnes, citing sources nearby for the situation adds that both fans, a man and a woman, made obscene gestures. James also reportedly told one of the officials that there was chatter coming from those two fans all game. This chatter was directed specifically towards both James and Carmelo Anthony. Agnes also makes it clear in his report that the ejections were ultimately the result of an obscene gesture, not something that was said. Twitter had a grand old time with the incident, nicknaming James the Snitch and producing a bunch of funny memes. There was some rampant rumors about what the fans may have said or done to deserve the ejection, but this report is finally making it clear what precipitated the entire incident. Okay, so this guy is a writer for the Pacers, right? And if those fans actually said what is being alleged that they said, you would think that this guy would find out, right? And he definitely dug into it, okay? And when he dug into it, lo and behold, he's saying, well, they weren't really even ejected for something that they said. It's something that they did, right? It was an obscene gesture that really caught LeBron's eye, right? Which would make sense because you would think that doing overtime like that, that crowd is going nuts. So it's probably very hard for LeBron James or anybody on the court to hear fans saying things to them, right? I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying. So again, to me, this seems to be a more reasonable explanation that they may have made some type of gesture towards him or whatever, right? And in my opinion, it looks even worse on LeBron James to have him thrown out if that's actually what happened, if it was about a gesture, considering that the dude was grabbing his junk, right, on the court, which is about as obscene as it gets, okay? So to me, it seems like LeBron may have been annoyed by these fans who may have just been basically going back and forth with him all game until he got to a point where he was like, all right, I'm kicking these people out. Right? Because, they keep doing X, Y, and Z. Right? That could have been it. He could have been frustrated coming back out the suspension. A whole lot of that could have come into play. I think that is a much more acceptable explanation than what's out here in the blogosphere. Now, the NBA has also responded to this incident. Okay? And they're basically saying, an NBA spokesperson, Mike Bass, on this incident that the fans were ejected for violating the NBA fan code of conduct, and that sources have said that the two fans made inappropriate comments and gestures towards Lakers star LeBron James. No lifetime ban or further consequences is expected. So yeah, there's still some back and forth about whether or not it was comments, it was gestures, maybe it was both, who knows? But what I do know is that the NBA is basically saying through their actions that whatever they said or whatever they did was not enough to warrant a lifetime suspension, or even them being suspended for the rest of the season. So let's understand this. Allegedly, according to people, right, like Shannon Sharp and other people, these fans said something that was so bad, right? It was so bad that they deserved to be ejected. And allegedly, they may have wished death on LeBron James' son. And if this is something they actually said, you would think that the NBA would be aware of this. If they actually said that, don't you think that the NBA would grant a lifetime suspension? Or at least a suspension for the rest of the season, if they said something of that magnitude? I would think that the punishment would be a lot more than this if that's what they said. The NBA is actually punishing LeBron James more, right, with the $15,000 fine than they are these fans who basically watched the whole game up until like overtime, right? So what punishment did they actually get? Because they can keep going to games. I mean, they didn't even get a 1-game suspension. Not one game. Not one game. Now, don't get me wrong. They have courtside seats, so they're probably well off, right? They probably have some connections. And in my opinion, it seems like from the actions of the NBA, they didn't say something that was that bad. Now, again, I could be wrong. There's also the possibility that behind the scenes, LeBron James could have talked with the fans and they could have made up. Right? That's also a possibility. And again, that to me, if they actually did say that, to me seems to be what would explain why the NBA is not really punishing them like that. Right? That would be the only explanation in my opinion. That would be the only explanation. That or they have some crazy connections or something like that. Right? That would be the only two explanations in my opinion. So I'm acknowledging that could be a possibility. However, in regards to there being evidence that they said something about his son, with each passing day, that it seems to be more and more unlikely that that's actually what happened. But again, I acknowledge I could be wrong. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.